This is amazing. You're getting silent without me saying anything. Well, this is the typical lunch situation where you got the advantage of being able to finish your lunch, where I hardly started. But there is a saying who laughs at the last one is the best one, because I will get back to my lunch when you still have to discuss. Now, I'm very, very happy to actually have you all here in this session, which is totally dedicated to the automotive news, which we brought out on Monday, which was around Blue Box. But we felt it was very appropriate to get it a little bit broader, since you all know that you are faced with a new company, with the new NXP, which is in existence in its current form since December 7 last year. Actually, time is flying. Sometimes I feel like it's just a day ago that we went live with the new company, but now this is almost half a year. And what makes it really special with this new company is that this was the marriage, the merge of two strong companies. It wasn't a strong one taking over a weak one, or even worse, what you have pretty often with M&A, two weak ones getting together and hoping for the best. But it was actually two strong ones getting together and forming something where we are all confident that it's going to be even stronger. And I mean, this is shown nicely in the positions of the two companies before the merge. What we're going to focus on in this session is how the product portfolio and how the customer portfolio of the two companies are together forming the strongest chip company in the whole space when it comes to the automotive industry. I must personally say, and that's a pretty emotional and personal comment, I feel incredibly privileged that I can lead this organization in a time where probably automotive is the most exciting and best place to be in the industry. And why is that? It is because it's going to change in the next few years more than it has changed the past 50 years. And we're going to talk about why this is changing so much and why it is so much a privilege to be actually right there at this point in time with the best capabilities from a technology and people perspective in this industry. So pretty cool. Now, who are we? In automotive, the combined entity, and by now I can say this very much backed up by market research data, we are the #1 supplier to the auto industry as a chip company, with about 14% market share. That is Strategy Analytics data, which was just published in end of April, so very new data for 2015. And we are 1.4 times bigger than the next guy in this industry. So with us having 14% market share, the next guys have 10% market share. And that tells you a lot. That also means that the product portfolio between the two companies, which came together, the former Freescale and the former NXP, are perfectly complementary in automotive. They are complementary to an extent that we can now form for the first time complete system solutions as a semiconductor company in an industry which is now running at a very fast pace. So a very, very strong starting point. But of course, it's not about the starting point. It's all about the future. And the future is about what makes this industry tick, what drives the change. And we have here 3 trends which we believe are the main elements which are driving this industry. And the trends are all about being much more clean. This is about environment. The other trend is about being much more safe, which is about ADAS and self-driving. But let's not forget, it's not only about the good with people, it's also about having fun and convenience, which is why the whole thinking and thoughts about convenience, about seamless connectivity, about experiencing a car in its best way, is the third big trend. Now, we love these trends for 2 reasons. The one reason is that 90% of the innovation which is driving these trends, which is enabling these trends, is electronics. And obviously, we are at the heart of electronics. And secondly, we love them because, and trust me, there's really a strong feeling, we do something which is good for society. I mean, all 3 trends will do something which will make life and which will make the planet a little bit better. And I almost dare to say a lot better. I was intrigued this morning, and I'm not sure who of you was in the session, but when Negroponte talked about the future this morning, I think John Dixon asked him what he thinks is the biggest thing when he thinks about smart cities going forward. And his reply was autonomous cars, which would make life in the cities so much different to what we experience down here. And we being the ones who have by far the biggest leadership and by far the biggest capabilities to enable these autonomous cars, I mean, that makes us feel good. That's why 2 reasons. The hard fact, 90% of this is electronics, and the more soft but strongly emotional fact about us doing something to society here, big time, makes us really feel good. Now, more specifically, what's the new NXP in automotive in terms of numbers and coverage? So that's a bit of a technical slide, but on the left-hand side, you see the automotive semiconductor market, which is like 29, almost $30 billion market. We do cover with our product portfolio a big part of it. I have to say with the new product portfolio, which is the combination of the 2 old ones. So we can do anything from a technology perspective which falls on the microcontrollers and microprocessors. We can do anything in analog. And we can do the largest part in sensors. In all of those, we are number 1. But that's not the end goal. Our goal is a different one. We want to be a system company. So we want to be a leader in application verticals, making use of the product and technology leadership in those domains on the left-hand side. So the juice for us, the big thing is in the middle. And what you find there is absolutely undoubted leadership positions in application domains. So we are by far leading the infotainment market in automotive. We are by far leading the secure car access market. By far body and in-vehicle networking. By far safety and powertrain. And quite a few of them are extremely important as springboards into our leadership in ADAS and security going forward. If you don't understand safety, if you don't understand what is required to make braking work where the life of the passengers is at the fingertip of the technology, if you don't understand that, you are not entitled to do ADAS. And that gives us a so much different starting point into this whole new world of automotive compared to many competitors. Now, if you take this together, it makes us the number 1 in the market. So the logic here is product leadership scale. We leverage this into application domain leadership. And through that, we are and will extend our number 1 position in the semiconductor automotive market. Now, when I talk about extension, it's good to be number 1, but of course, this is not static. Strategy Analytics, which is at the bottom of all of these numbers, also reported that we did gain almost a full percentage point of market share with the combined company last year in automotive. So it's not only that we are number 1, but actually we extended this number 1 position last year big time. So a good starting point. Now let me talk a little bit about what we mean with system solutions, because everybody talks about systems and the value of systems. But let me try to give you 3 concrete examples how we actually unlock a new value by combining the competences of the former Freescale and of the former NXP. A very prominent one, and many of you might have seen this already when we published it first at the CES show in Las Vegas earlier the year, is the world's smallest radar solution. So by combining the RF CMOS performance and integration performance of the former NXP for radar transceivers at 77 gigahertz, which is, by the way, not very easy. So competitors are all working on silicon germanium. We are the first ones to bring this into CMOS. Why does it matter? It matters because it becomes much smaller, and we can integrate it going forward with the baseband processors in radar, where Freescale used to be the leader already in the first place. So what you see here is the front side and the flip side of the world's smallest fully integrated radar module. So this little thing, I unfortunately don't have it with me here, but it's really the size of a postage stamp, is a complete radar module. And it is fully powered by NXP. And I say front side and flip side because on the front side is the radar-specific components. The transceiver, oh, Lars, thank you so much. Always good to have the CTO with you. So this is the board as it really looks like. So and it's the problem with automotive is always it's hard to show how it works. So we would need to bring a BMW up here to show this, or a Google car, by the way, in that particular case. But the point is, it's not only the radar-specific components, but also on the flip side, and people often forget this from a value creations perspective. There's a lot of power management. There is a lot of fail-safe circuitry necessary, network connections. All of that we can do now out of one hand as the combined new NXP. So I wouldn't know of any company in the industry which could power a solution like this all out of one hand, which comprises hardware and software for radar. Now, why do we feel strong about radar? It's actually because radar is just exploding in the marketplace as we speak. It explodes because the penetration of radar systems into cars is going up rapidly. So think about cruise control systems, think about blind spot monitoring applications. I mean, that's something, we all know it. The good news is it still has a very small penetration into cars. So there is a lot of way to go until every car is going to have it. So more cars will have radar. Since engineers have great ideas how to build radar cocoons and stuff, there will be more radars per car. So it's not only that more cars will have this, but it's also that each car is going to have more of this. So this company in California called Google, which is field testing with this, they think about having 10 to 20 of those per car, which is what they call a radar cocoon, which is surrounding the car to build a perfect digital image of the surroundings of the car. Now, obviously, from a business perspective, this is a pretty nice perspective if you think about the fact that it's not only more cars, but a lot of devices per car. And we take it even further. There is a lot of more use cases coming up with radar. So we are very confident that with a size like this, we can replace ultrasonic sensors by radar sensors, which opens up the next wave of growth if you just think about the replacement value of all the ultrasonics. The reason, by the way, is, amongst others, that ultrasonic doesn't really go well through metal. So if you think about the bumpers of a car, you all have this park distance control thing, right? You have these holes in the bumpers, which doesn't necessarily look very elegant. This goes through the metal, so you can hide it behind the metal and don't have the design problems. But radar can do more stuff, and I look here at Torsten, who is leading our radar business. I mean, the guys have great ideas about gesture control, which you could use with radar, et cetera, et cetera. So, in view of time, you see I'm pretty animated about this, so I could speak about an hour about radar. It's a big one. It's a big one for NXP, and NXP is very big in it. Now, going forward, another system space is clearly what we call ADAS full potential. We look at the world of ADAS, and we will speak about Blue Box in more detail in a minute. There is a first wave, which is what we currently see rolling out, which is cameras and radars. The limitation of cameras and radars is they only see what we as human beings would also see. So they are limited to the line of sight. They don't see around corners. They don't see through other cars, like you are in a queue and you have 5 cars ahead of you. You just don't see this 6th car ahead of you, which maybe makes a sharp break and lets you crash afterwards. So the real power of connected cars is only going to come by car-to-car communication. And that is why we think that the V2X system, which actually we bring on the road with the model year 16 Cadillac, which GM is going to launch very soon for the first time on the road, this is going to be really the next wave of ADAS to make it really intelligent. So with V2X, cars will communicate with other cars with a circle of about 1.5 miles. So there's a huge area around them, and they can share information, which is so much more intelligent than just one way seeing the other cars. And we can do this incredibly fast. So we talk about, I think, Torsten, 5 milliseconds latency, which no LTE or other network could ever achieve. So this is really about point-to-point. Why does it matter? Because it's all about reaction time. I mean, why do we want to have autonomous cars? We want to have them because we want them to be faster, and we want them to be more precise in their decision-making than human beings. Because it's about avoiding the errors of human beings. But in order to avoid that, and our brains are not very stupid, I mean, you've got to be damned fast. That's why latency time of these systems really, really matters. Now, we do have a complete system solution again here. So what you find here is from the network connection, which is a Automotive Ethernet connect, all the way up to the software. We have the full system solution. So this is about $20 per car for one module in terms of semiconductor and software value, which we can power. And again, there is no other company on this planet which has such a complete portfolio for the full system solution for secure V2X. By the way, I say secure because this includes a complete crypto controller, which is required by the industry to make sure you cannot hack into the system. Which brings me actually to the engagement with this, because I mean we've talked a lot about secure V2X, and people sometimes are wondering, yeah, what's really happening? What is happening is that we do expect for this year a mandate in the US to make it mandatory for new cars being launched, somewhere maybe around 2020. We don't exactly know when, but we do know from the DOT that this will be mandated. We talked a lot about GM. So GM is really pioneering this, and they will go on the road with the new Cadillac coming up. We are totally designed in with Harman, and you find a lot of other good names here. Let me just mention one thing, which is the Smart City Challenge. We talked a lot about smart cities yesterday. Austin is one of the 7 smart cities which are queuing up to get the big money from Obama. We are supporting this in all 7 cities. Now, there will be one winner. What I know for sure is that the 6 cities which will not make it will still use the technology, because we support them so much at the moment that they all smell blood. So they will go on even if they don't win. Now, there is one caveat with all of this, which is security. And actually, I should not start to speak about security, but I should start to speak about consumer trust. With the car taking over, I personally have my doubts if I would need to fear that the car could be possibly hacked and somebody else takes over rather than the car. So we think that security is foundational to anything which has to do with connected cars, be it just a level 2 ADAS system or be it a complete self-driving car. If there is not proper security in place, we are toast. Now, that has become a bigger issue because cars are so much connected. So a car has between 3 and 5 wireless interfaces to the outside world. So there's a lot of open doors which could be actually entered. And that's not the whole story. The whole story is that unfortunately inside the car, it's also completely networked. So if a hacker gets into one of these doors, to one of these wireless interfaces, the hacker immediately has access to anything in the car, because within the car, anything is networked. It's a fantastic business for us, but it's also a fantastic challenge. So that's why, I mean, this is something which is a very significant problem to be solved. The good news is that in other industries, NXP has already pioneered security. Those of you who have a credit card in your pocket, or who possibly have an electronic passport and enjoy the benefits of global entry at the airport, this is all about very high-level cryptography, where we've been leading for years, and what we do now is we transport that know-how into automotive. Transporting it means we have a 4-layer security solution, which we are discussing across the industry with governments, with car companies, with tier 1 suppliers, with all sorts of hackers and advisors, by the way. So we also test this with hackers. How secure is it actually? And it goes all the way from securing the wireless interfaces through securing the network, and finally the fundamental layer of securing the applications themselves. It's a different solution for each of the layers. But again, the combined company, and that's why it is another example for a system solution of the new company. We are the only ones to have this complete system solution for all 4 layers, thanks to the 2 pieces which came together from Freescale hardware security in microprocessors and gateways, and the NXP security in cryptography and transceivers, in network transceivers. So 3 examples on why we feel so strong about this combination of the 2 companies. And all of that leads me now over to why you probably came for, which is Blue Box.